Welcome to Looking Within, a podcast for the spiritual explorer in each of us. I'm Julie. I love to explore the inner life using contemplative practices, and I love to help others to do the same. In our time together, I hope you gain a sense of hope, meaning, joy, and love. As a Christian spiritual explorer, I hope to offer some thoughts to help you see God's presence and activity in ever-expanding ways. As you listen, ponder, and experience the divine, feel free to use the spiritual perspective you are most comfortable with in our practice today. Now, let's begin. Thanks for joining me to Look Within today. If this is your first time to listen, welcome. If you're a weekly listener, that's fabulous. And if you're able to catch an episode here and there, that's great too. It's wonderful to meet up however often that works for you. Today, I'm especially glad you're with me as we launch a special series of Looking Within episodes that will coincide with one of the most important times of year for many Christians around the world, the season of Lent. So, what is Lent? In the Christian Church, Lent is the 40 days that begin on Ash Wednesday and lead up to Easter Sunday. In the very early Christian Church, Lent was a time of preparation of candidates for baptism, and over the centuries, Christians observed these weeks to replicate Jesus' sacrifice and withdrawal into the desert for 40 days at the beginning of his ministry. Many Christians, and our culture in general, often think of Lent as a solemn, rather penitential season, as the Church prepares for the celebration of the death and resurrection of Jesus at Easter. Individuals have various sacrificial practices during these weeks to honor Jesus' sacrifice of his life, things like fasting from certain foods like meat, or the giving up of something like chocolate or television. The weeks of Lent have also been used for refocusing one's faith journey, for reading the Bible and praying more often, or for engaging in acts of generosity and service. However we choose to observe these weeks, it's an important and deeply meaningful part of the Christian church year to ponder and experience. As we join up together through this podcast, I'd welcome the chance to be a part of your journey through Lent this year. In fact, I want to invite you to participate in a special Looking Within experience simply called our Lent experience. During these weeks of Lent, I'd like to offer you the chance to, first, engage with our weekly podcast, which is published every Monday morning, and second, to experience 2 additional, much shorter episodes that will be published on Wednesdays and Fridays. These Monday, Wednesday, Friday episode trios will carry a unique theme of their own that will tie into an overarching theme for the 6 weeks. This could be your new discipline for Lent this year, or a wonderful addition to an annual tradition that you might already observe. I hope you'll join me for this contemplative Lent experience during the coming weeks. Our content during these weeks will build on some topics we've covered lately from Henry Nouwen's book, Life of the Beloved, Spiritual Living in a Secular World. We've talked about being the beloved of God during these past weeks as that all-important core of our self-identity that we're invited to claim. But Nouwen reminds us that alongside being the beloved, we are also invited to answer the call to become the beloved. In other words, the truth of our being a beloved daughter, son of God, has everything to do with the ways we think, talk, and act in our daily lives. Our Lent experience will examine some movements of God's Spirit that show up in our daily struggles and help us develop some disciplines to identify these movements and respond to them in our actions. In effect, we'll be practicing becoming the beloveds of God. As helpful signposts of the Spirit working in our lives, Nouwen offers the 4 words taken or chosen, blessed, broken, and given. Not only are these the words used as Jesus broke bread with his disciples the night before he died, but they are also words that summarize our lives as a Christian, as just like Jesus, We're called to be bread for the world. So, hearing a bit about our themes for these upcoming weeks, are you ready to join me for this 6-week journey through Lent? I hope so. Let the journey begin. For this week, let's look at the first movement of the Spirit, taken, or a more accessible word for this, chosen. To grow into becoming the beloved, we acknowledge with our whole being that we're God's chosen ones, chosen just like Jesus was. It's a powerful step to deeply absorb the feeling of being special, unique, precious, and treasured by God. The amazing mystery of this comes into play because it's the divine that we're talking about here, the ground of being that can love and treasure us as the chosen one, without excluding anyone else from that same distinction. This totally goes against our usual way of comparing, competing, and ranking things or people. For God, instead of rejecting any of us as less valuable, God accepts all of us in our uniqueness. Each of us is the chosen one. Even when the world does not choose us, but instead chooses someone else, and even when we're tempted to entertain feelings of self-rejection, God says, "You're my beloved, my chosen one." We need to claim this reality throughout our lives again and again and again. Before our quiet moments, let me share the 3 disciplines or helpful guidelines that can help us live out our chosenness. First, we have to keep unmasking the world and its systems for what they tend to be: controlling, power-hungry, image-driven, and oftentimes destructive. There are so many messages that would tell us that we're anything but special and chosen, and we need to filter and unmask these. Second, we need to keep looking for people and places that speak the truth about us, that remind us of our deepest identity as the beloved, chosen one. Purposely be around or in contact with anyone or any place in your life that encourages and supports your deepest, divinely given identity. And third, celebrate your chosenness constantly. Thank God for choosing you and everyone else. Thank God for those that remind you of your belovedness. And choose gratefulness over bitterness, delighting in the many small gifts in life that brighten up your day. Well, I've said a lot for one day, including extra things to set up our next 6 weeks. Now it's time to enjoy some quiet. In this quiet space and time, I'd invite you to gently close your eyes. I'll sound the Tibetan singing bowl, which will call you to look within. As you're listening to the bowl's reverberations, take 3 deep breaths. Then let your breathing return to normal whenever you'd like. Hear the sound of the bowl now. Let it center you. Let it remind you that God is here with you. Today, we've talked about being chosen, special, unique, and precious in God's eyes. There's a great personal joy in feeling chosen, loved, and valued, isn't there? But there's an additional joy in this, one of equal value, the discovery that others are chosen as well. I'd invite you to think of someone in your life who might be going through a time of not feeling chosen. Or someone might come to mind who you'd love to have a renewed sense of being the beloved of God. Joy and love are multiplied when shared with others. Perhaps picture this person enveloped in a glowing ball of warm, loving light. Or picture them being wholeheartedly embraced by Jesus. And if you happen to be in need of this naming of who you are, picture yourself being looked upon by Jesus with eyes of love and pride and an amazingly big smile. I'll be back with you in about 3 minutes. I'd invite you now to take a few deep breaths, in and out, in and out. Let these breaths fill you with strength and energy. Hear me sound the Tibetan singing bowl, and as the sound of the bowl reverberates and slowly dies away, you can gently open your eyes, remaining still for a moment longer. Today we've talked about the season of Lent, and I invited you to walk with me during the next 6 weeks for our Looking Within Lent experience. I hope you'll join me each Monday for our regular episodes, and if you'd like, on Wednesdays and Fridays for shorter follow-ons to the Monday conversation. We'll grow into becoming the beloveds of God, beginning today with the word chosen as our starting place. Carry this core identity with you each day and give yourself a frequent reminder of this when a message to the contrary comes your way. Nouwen says that, quote, our lives are unique stones in the mosaic of human existence, priceless and irreplaceable, end quote. What a great image to launch us into these weeks of seeing the belovedness of ourselves and of everyone else. Thank you for making time for your inner self today. Whatever you've discovered and experienced, carry that with you in the coming days. You can find more episodes at our website, gloria-dei, that's DEI.com/lookingwithinpodcast, or subscribe through your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next time.